Welcome to a podcast by Kayleigh, the gateway to unlocking your unlimited potential. I'm creating an army of 6- and 7-figure makeup artists, and I want you to join me. In this podcast, I'm going to be crushing gatekeeping, opening the doors to the knowledge you need, and deep diving into the topics that can push us to the next level. Be prepared for epic guests and answers to the questions you have always wanted to know. No more small business, no more just a makeup artist. The beauty industry is a $250 billion industry, and you're in it. Let's get ready to open those gates. This is a podcast by Kayleigh. Please welcome a guest that I am so beyond excited to welcome today for a podcast by Kayleigh. Now, some full disclosure. Elyssa came on. I'm literally filming this intro on Monday, the 29th of January. And this podcast is going live on, I believe, the 31st. My turnover time for podcasts is not that good for my guests. Normally it's like a 2-month wait. But today's episode, I had to get out. We had to do this. I have been a fan of Elyssa for a good, I think, couple of years now. Me and her were actually talking at the beginning of the podcast about how we actually came to know each other. And I started following her because one of my favorite fashion influencers actually posted that they were getting some coaching done with her. I then followed her and I just fell in love with her content, particularly her mindset-based content. Elyssa Desai is a mindset coach and hypnotherapist, and she is incredible. She is literally a ray of sunshine and a freaking knowledgeable one at that. In today's episode, we talk all about the power of mindset. Now, when I say this is probably the most powerful episode that I have put out, I am not kidding. So much can come from mindset, and I do not want you switching off. If I am your mentor, if you consider me your mentor, we are not switching off today. Mindset is the reason I'm here. I discovered a podcast in 2020 where I learned all about mindset and I was hooked. It was the thing, and I try and describe it in this episode. It was the thing that lifted the lid on me as a person. And I truly believe that when I discovered it, I became who I am and who you know today. And that is why it's so powerful. And Elyssa today comes on and teaches us all about the power of your mindset, how we develop these limiting beliefs such as comparison syndrome, blocks, fears, why we develop them, and how they stop us growing as business owners and artists. We also talk about our incredible retreat that is coming up next week that I cannot wait for you guys who are coming to meet you and hug you and go through some insanely powerful exercises that are designed to lift those blocks. This is one of our most empowering episodes, and I can't wait for you guys to listen. Please let me know what you think. But I'm going to stop talking because this is the longest intro of all time. I want you to welcome the always inspiring, always empowering, ultimate babe that is Elyssa Desai. Okay, please welcome to the podcast. Would you mind please introducing yourself and what you do for the people at home that don't know?
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm Elyssa Desai, and I'm a mindset coach and hypnotherapist. I help women who just have so many blocks that I know that they can overcome, and I want to help them overcome it so they can actually be in control of their mind rather than their mind being completely in control of them, so they can achieve everything that they dream of and more, and just expand their life and the possibilities for them.
I would love to know, how did you actually get into this? It's quite niche what we do, isn't it? Especially what you do. So is there like an interesting story?
Yeah, I mean, what I would really say is that for so long, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And my background's in human resources, recruitment, development, and I kind of fell into that. It was fine, there were good moments, but I just never really felt that fulfilled. I always felt like something was missing. And it kind of came to a head at the end of 2018 where I just thought, I can't do this job anymore. I'm getting to the point of burnout and I just don't want my life to be like this. So I left that job and I was like, right, Elyssa, what am I going to do? And part of me thought, right, well, I'm going to get into marketing because that's what I'd studied at university. And I thought maybe it's just that I haven't given marketing a good go. So I got a job in marketing. I completely changed my whole career. It was going to be working with charities. So I thought that I would be helping people and I would feel fulfilled doing that. Day one, I just came home and I just remember sitting in my kitchen crying to my mum. And I just said, I don't know what I've done. I've made the biggest mistake. I felt so kind of paralyzed and stuck because it felt like I'd taken so many steps forwards, thinking that I was going down a new, different, right path. And for that to then not be right, I was like, what am I going to do? Honestly. And it's crazy because I think back to that time now and, you know, this is a bit of a side note, when I speak to people who feel that feeling of they don't know what they're doing with their life, I'm like, when it changes, the not knowing will feel like a distant memory. And I can remember being in that place of not knowing, but it also feels like such a kind of different person, like such a long time ago. But it was really difficult when I was in that place. And it was one of the worst jobs I've ever been in. So it wasn't right for me, but it was what I would say the best thing ever for my career and for my life, really. It made me sit down and say, right, I've got to stop just jumping from job to job. I've got to really figure out what do I want to do with my life, because I'm kind of a bit over it now. Like I'm over just doing random things. And I knew about coaching, but I always thought it would be something that I would do later on in life because I didn't think someone at my age then, you know, I was kind of, you know, mid to late 20s would do or could do. And I was actually at the pub with one of my friends and I was speaking to her about it and she said, oh, I know someone who's younger than you and who's got a successful coaching business. And it was like a light bulb went off. And I just thought, if she can do it, not that I knew her, but I was like, if she can do it, why can't I? Like, what makes me any different? And I literally got like the biggest kick up my arse where I was just like, right, no more. I'm not wasting any more time. This is what I want to do and I'm going to make it happen. And again, I remember sitting down with my mum on the sofa and I said, Mum, I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to have my own clients. I don't know how right now, but I'm going to do it. And, you know, she really believed in me and she said, if it's what you want to do, like go for it. So I started my coaching diploma and I don't know whether you've ever felt this feeling of just like something feeling so right. Like it's almost like in your bones. Like it's like, oh my God, what have I been doing? Like, this is amazing. So all of a sudden, like, this is 2019. It kind of felt like my life changed. Like I went from having no purpose to having purpose. I went from spending all my time drinking and seeing friends and going out, which is obviously a lot of fun. But then I suddenly was like, I want to create a business. And in my free time, I'm going to be coaching and I'm going to be working on myself. So that also then really started me on this path of working on my mindset. And it was through coaching people and just finding out what I was drawn to that I really decided mindset for me was it. For me, I think mindset is at the core of every single being and of every single person's life. Anytime I have a conversation with anyone about their career, their relationships, their lifestyle, it always relates back to something mindset related, whether that is comparison, self-doubt, or it's a limiting belief that they're telling themselves. And I just think if we can all work on our mindsets, we're going to be happier. We're going to feel more fulfilled. We're going to be able to reach the level of success that we want to reach. And that's going to look different for every single person. I'm kind of like, why wouldn't you do it? Like, I can really sit here and think from where I was to here, I feel like a different person.
Yes. I 100% resonate with that because this Kayleigh actually didn't exist, or she did exist, but she was maybe like locked away under many, many, many weighted blankets of fear, doubt, and all of the things in 2019, like 2018. This was a different Kayleigh. And it wasn't until I listened to a podcast, the Manifestation Babe podcast, just on a whim, just literally on a whim. I was looking for a new podcast and she spoke about mindset and it felt like, I don't even know, like my mind, it's so weird to say this out loud, but my mind had just been awakened for the first time in my entire existence. That's so big and bold of me to say that, but it unlocked everything.
Yeah. I totally resonate with that. And you just said fear. And I think so many people allow or like just don't feel able to do anything different, where fear just controls their life. I really resonate with what you're saying, because it almost is like you're living in this box and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, there's a whole life out here. There is like all these opportunities. There is like me doing this and me doing that. And like, oh my gosh, like I could just keep myself in the box, or I could say, no, like I want to just expand myself. And I really do feel this feeling of like, we are all so much more capable of anything that we can imagine. And it is so exciting. It's so exciting to think that in 10 years' time, even a year's time, we could be doing things that we might not even think is possible for us right now. They might not even be on our radar. Do you know what I mean?
To tell baby Kayleigh and baby Elyssa, 18-year-old me, for example, that I would one day be like speaking and hosting things and having a blooming podcast, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have been like, I'm not capable of that. That's not in my existence. But it's just unlocking that box of mindset, isn't it? So I want to know then, okay, because we're getting into the nitty gritty and we're getting into it fast. We're like 10 minutes in and we're in the nitty gritty. Let's start with just the basics, because for me, it was the podcast that was my awakening. Was there a specific moment for you where you just like discovered what mindset was? Because a lot of people don't know what it is.
Yeah. I think when things started to change was, so I started my coaching diploma in 2019. And then in 2020, I was like officially launching my business. And I saw a video on Instagram which said something like, maybe the thing that you're scared of the most is the exact thing you should be doing. And almost like you said, like kind of just clicked in my head when I just thought, oh, okay. And I ended up writing a huge list of all the things that felt scary for me. And one of them was just being on social media at all. I was like, no way am I having social media. I'm scared. I don't want to have to post me and videos of me and pictures of me. And I suddenly just thought, why am I letting this fear hold me back? I was aware of limiting beliefs before and I learned about them in my coaching diploma. But at that moment, I really kind of recognized how a story that I was telling myself about myself was stopping me doing something. And actually, it was fine. You know, I just thought, oh, I'm not a social media person. And I was like, why do I even believe that? It's kind of ridiculous. So that was a kind of turning point for me. And I also I listened to the audiobook of Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And the combination of these things, I suddenly just thought, I'm going to do it and I'm going to push myself as far as I possibly can and just see what happens. What is the worst that can happen? So I launched my Instagram account and I just thought, I've got to do the things that scare me the most. So I launched with like a picture of me and then I think 3 videos of me talking about my business, and nothing happened. You know, like the world didn't end. I didn't implode. No one was like knocking on my door being like, Elyssa, you're an idiot, or like, you know, sending me hate mail. It was just like well, that's it then. You know, the post got some likes and that was it. And it suddenly was like kind of like how I was viewing life shattered. And I suddenly thought, where else am I limiting myself? Where else am I holding myself back? So that was a real kind of pivotal moment for me. Limiting beliefs, I would say, is kind of my expertise, and I work with all my clients on them. It's something I'm so passionate about. And now I'm just constantly checking in with myself. And every time that I'm setting goals, I'm going, right, what are my limiting beliefs around this? Because there will be some, right? So yeah, that was probably it for me.
Let's go back to basics then. For anybody who is listening to this and they're like, what on earth are these two actually talking about? What is mindset work? Like what actually does that mean? And what is a limiting belief? What is your definition of those two things?
So for me, mindset work is anything within your mind which is impacting your life that is holding you back. So it might be things like self-sabotage, fear, self-doubt, comparison. So part of it for me is kind of working through those almost mindset blocks. And also it is about, how do you get your mind as your biggest supporter? Because your mind is impacting everything you do. So if you can program it in a way that is supporting you almost like if you had a really supportive friend, right, who's constantly cheering you on and saying, you can do this, you've got this, do this, yeah, you've got this, like, okay, you're doing amazingly, celebrate this, you can feel really proud of this. Like, how do you get your mind to become that? So your mind is your biggest supporter. So that's kind of mindset work. And then in terms of limiting beliefs are stories that we tell ourselves that we believe to be true, but they're not always true. So we can have empowering beliefs, which are things that support us. For example, I can achieve anything I set my mind to. Or we can have limiting beliefs, which are beliefs that limit us and restrict us in life. For example, I'll never be successful, I'm not good enough, is a very common limiting belief. What happens is we're experiencing so many different things every single moment of every day. And on an unconscious level, so we're not aware of this, our mind is deleting, distorting, and generalizing this information. And then we create meanings. So this means this about me. This means this about the world, life, what's possible. When those meanings are repeated over and over again, beliefs are then formed. I can give an example of one of my limiting beliefs that was impacting me, which, I've really worked at overcoming. Was for a long time, I really believed that I was stupid. And this stems back from being in school and, never doing what I deemed as that well. I think other people would look at my grades and be like, you did fine. But there was something about the experience for me. I think it was being in some of the bottom sets. It was about that I just didn't care and I didn't like school. And I kind of associated being clever with enjoying learning. So for a long time, I thought I was stupid. And I kind of just pushed it down and I got on with my life and I thought, whatever, like it doesn't matter. It would sometimes come up, like definitely if people spoke about, and I don't speak about this that often, but if people spoke about the amazing universities they went to, I would have this kind of, oh God, like I wanted to like hide into under my duvet and be like, oh my gosh, I just feel so stupid and I did like a stupid degree and, and that kind of pattern would come into my head. And again, I just hadn't really worked on it, but I really wanted to start a master's, which I have started last year. And when I started to think about doing this master's, that same belief came up and it was kind of going, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to study and I'm not going to do well and university's not for me, and I'm not going to be able to do the essays, or it's 5 years, so do it for 5 years. And I really just thought, this is just ridiculous. So I worked really hard at overcoming that belief. And the reason why I want to kind of share this story is because this belief was probably created when I was maybe even in primary school. I don't know, the seed might have started to be sown, but definitely in secondary school. So I may have been, 13 or something. And like 17-ish years later, it was still impacting me. And as an adult now, I can say, oh, I wasn't stupid, like I was fine. But we can perceive things in different ways and we can create meanings, even if they're not true or the actual facts or looking at all the perspectives. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I feel like I'm really present right now. I'm really thinking back to like my own childhood and questioning things that happened there. So I'm probably looking at you like,
do you know what? It's always a way you start to think, oh, what did I think? And I think, being a child and a teenager can be difficult and we can perceive things in ways that can really impact us. And then, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s and older, we can have these beliefs which were created at a very young age that are still impacting us. And they influence everything that we do. So with that example, I probably put off starting this master's for a lot longer because I didn't think that I could do it. And even if you're not aware of it, your beliefs will be impacting how you show up in the world. And again, empowering ones will also be part of your beliefs in your mind, and they can really support you too. But it's just about how do we help you to overcome those limiting ones and actually build up that empowering, almost muscle inside your mind.
I don't know where I heard this, but I always repeat this to my students is I always say, when you look at like a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old, even a 3-year-old, and hopefully a 4-year-old as well, they aren't born a fresh newborn baby thinking that they're not good enough or that they can't do that. Or, when they learn to walk, the first time they fall down, they don't give up. They get up and they learn to walk eventually. And it's not something that we're born with. We're not born with these beliefs. I don't think. You have to fact check that. But I don't think we're born with these beliefs. You learn them and you learn them from somewhere. It could be Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and on the screen she could be feeling insecure, and then you absorb that. And I always was taught to question, is it a truth or is it a lie that your brain has painted? Like, is it true that you're not good enough? Is it true you can't earn six figures? Or is it a lie that you learn somewhere in your 30 plus years on this planet, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I talk to my clients about, like, you know, little kids, definitely, because I think, you know, you're so right. I mean, I definitely believe that we're not born with beliefs. They are things that we learn. They are things that we pick up, and we can have the most loving, supportive parents and upbringing, and we can still have limiting beliefs from that time. And we can still have limiting beliefs from, you know, our parents. And this isn't to be negative about them, but it's just about how do we perceive things. So that I'm not good enough is a very, very common limiting belief. And it's almost like, as a child, we don't really have this like bigger sense of the world and, like, you know, all the kind of just life in general, let's say. So let's say if, you know, one of our parents is cooking and we kind of, you know, as a little kid, we like want their attention, and they're like, I need to get back to you, or, you know, I'll be over there in a sec, and it goes off. We might not think, oh, they're cooking my dinner, and, you know, but we might take that as they don't want to hang out with me. They don't want to see my dance I've just created. That means I'm not good enough. And that parent was going, oh my gosh, the water's about to boil over and I just need to run and get this. So, like, you know, it doesn't all go everywhere and I'm going to come back. But the child, and, you know, creates the meaning of this means I'm not good enough. So that I'm not good enough limiting belief can really be from when we're little, when we don't know what other meaning to make from the situation. And we relate everything back to us.
Yeah, it goes so deep, doesn't it? We could talk for hours about like where they come from. Like, I'm so sure most of mine came from like girly magazines, you know, when your mum buys you Ms as like when you get your period. And and then you read in it, all these girls are like insecure about things. And then you're like, wait, I'm insecure now. And it can come from like the most obscure places. We've talked about like where they come from. Obviously, most people listening, we have them. We have limiting beliefs. Beyonce, I am pretty sure.
Because I always think about it in a way, rather than thinking like, oh my gosh, I've got limiting beliefs, this is worse in my world. Like, it's just about, where are my beliefs in relation to the life that I want? Okay, let me work through those to get to the next step. And then, okay, I want to go to the next step. What beliefs do I have around that next step? Do I have some that empower me? Great. But what are the ones that are limiting me here? Okay, next step. So I think everyone has limiting beliefs, and it doesn't need to be this like, oh my gosh, it's horrendous. It's just like almost like a fact. Like, we all have them. It's a fact. Like, but we can get through them and we can overcome them. And I think that's the key part.
The biggest one in this community, I think, there's probably two. There's the one that I had, which stopped me for years, and it was very similar to yours. I think we're twinning. I wanted to start by Kayleigh like years and years and years ago. I wanted to educate and talk about business because I've always been really good at that side of things. But my biggest limiting belief was, oh my gosh, what will people think of me? Oh my gosh, what will they say behind my back? Oh my gosh, will they think I'm silly? Will they like make jokes about this? I had so much fear around what people would say. And I think it was a little bit of like, it was a lot of mindset work in 2020, and also a little bit of aging. I think as you age, you do start to lose the cares, the amount of cares that you have to give. So that's a really big one in the community, is fear of, I guess, judgment. Do you see that a lot? Do you see that in your community?
Definitely. And I think for people who are becoming visible and putting themselves out there, it comes up because, you know, if we're just kind of at home doing our own thing, can people comment? But all of a sudden when we go, oh, I'm going to put myself on social media, I'm going to start selling myself, I'm going to create a reel, or I'm going to post this about myself. All of a sudden it's like, you know, we're thinking about every single Tom and Harry from wherever, Sally and Sue from like, you know, going back like 20 years, like what are they going to think? And yeah, I think we can get ourselves into such a spiral with that. Definitely. It's one that I see a lot.
If I was a client of yours right now and I was like, oh my gosh, like I have all these ideas and I have all these things that I want to do, but I just I can't show up. Where would you advise I start with that?
I think for me, it's about breaking it down between helping someone to overcome those limiting beliefs and that fear, and also supporting them to take action, because we can do all the mindset work, but we also need to take action to actually change our life, right? So I could overcome, the limiting belief that I'm stupid, but if I'm not taking the action to actually start the masters, I'm just still kind of where I am. Like, I've got to take that action too. So for me, I'd be looking at how do we help you to overcome any of those limiting beliefs? So that's things like challenging it. As you said before, like, what's the truth in this and what's the evidence against it being true? Really looking at the assumptions that you're making, whether it's just a habit or if there is actually any evidence. Usually there's not a lot of evidence, if any, but we've just kind of, it's gone into our mind and that's it. Then it would be to reframe it and to really think about what can you tell yourself instead, and to integrate that new belief into your life. So that would be part of it. I think also exploring the fear, and kind of, it depends on the person, but sometimes actually going to like worst possible outcome can be helpful. And when you actually kind of dig deeper and you say, but okay, what do you actually think people are going to say? Sometimes there's no kind of nothing else, no other basis for it. It's just like, I don't actually, maybe they'll say it's stupid. And then you're like, okay, would you care? And you're like, oh no, I actually wouldn't care about that. Or like almost like just try and investigate it. Sometimes I think it's about unpeeling all the layers underneath the block of like looking at it from different angles to help an individual overcome it. And then the second part is really helping someone to take action even when they feel fear. So this could be looking at the comfort zone and just recognizing that fear is a natural human feeling that we all feel when we perceive something to be dangerous, to be scary, but actually realizing that it's kind of where we go when we step outside our comfort zone. And it's okay to feel those feelings and to start to take some steps out of that comfort zone and really build that confidence and trust within ourselves of, I can do this and I'm okay and no one's saying anything. And also I think for me, it's about sometimes when we're scared of what other people are going to say, it's because we are kind of feeling that feeling. So let me try and say that in a better way. Like, we actually think that about ourselves. So for example, we might think everyone is going to say this is a stupid idea, because a part of us thinks it's a stupid idea. Do you see what I mean? So this is about how do we get you to recognize whether there are any parallels and help you work through those to feel really strong in your idea, yourself, and what you're doing and what you're putting out, knowing that you can't control anyone else. And if people do talk or comment, that it's kind of got nothing to do with you. Like, you just are laser focused on, this is my vision, this is where I want to get to, I believe in myself, and that's all I need to focus on. It doesn't matter if this person says XYZ about it. It doesn't matter if this person comments on it. Like, it just matters that is my idea. And I love to share, like, I often share about Steve Jobs, because I think there's maybe a few films about him, but I watched one film about him. And what I saw was that the first time he put out the Macintosh computer, I think it was called, everyone was like, it's a stupid idea. Like, it's never going to work. The sales were not good at all. He then got like fired from his own company that he started, and he did not stop. He carried on going. He was like, nope, I believe in this and I'm going to make it work. He got rehired. And I mean, I'm sitting here now, I've got 2 iPhones, I've got my Apple Mac laptop, I've got an iPad, and it's like, he believed in himself, and that was a key part, kind of letting go of like, it doesn't matter what other people are going to say, it just matters about you believing in yourself. And I guess that's where the mindset comes back in, because he was he had that vision and the focus of like, this is what I want to do and I'm going to make it work. And there's so many other celebrities. Like, I mean, I think Oprah got fired from one of her first jobs. Like, I love to sometimes Googling it, like all the celebrities who kind of, didn't make it in the beginning. And it just makes you realize like, they didn't give up. Like, it's not that every single person who is successful now didn't have people in the beginning say, this isn't going to work, that's not a good idea. It's just that they carried on going despite other people's comments. And that is the only real difference between people who decide to keep on going and people who don't.
Oh my gosh, I'm so with you. I love looking up like people that I idolize and I admire. And I like looking up like if they've had adversity. My favorite one is Walt Disney, the gigantic Disney empire. Walt Disney, he went like bankrupt like so many times. He went to banks with the idea of Disneyland and he was like laughed out of, I think, 500 banks. That sounds really exaggerated, but that was the figure that I found online. And that's Walt Disney. And now look, that like they like own the world.
Exactly. And I love that. I like that is such a great example. And it's like, it does make me sad to think that there's probably so many people with great ideas right now, and they've never allowed them to come to fruition because of one person's comment, or like they felt like they failed and it didn't go right. And I also always think like, do I want to get to, I know it's a bit of a morbid thought, but like, do I want to get to my deathbed and say, I gave it a go? It didn't work, or, you know, yeah, that person was kind of right. Like it wasn't a great idea, but I gave it a go. Or do I want to get to my deathbed and be like, oh yeah, at least like, you know, Sally didn't, you know, I don't know why I keep saying Sally, but like Sally didn't say anything. Yeah, exactly. You know, she didn't say anything bad about me. It's like letting go of people's comments and just thinking, if they want to comment about me, then that is just them and who they are, and it's got nothing to do with me. Like I'd much rather be happy and doing something that lights me up and people maybe commenting on me than being in a job that I absolutely hate and like my life is horrendous but no one's commenting on me. Like, you know, sometimes it's about weighing it up.
Absolutely. We had a guest, her name was Viv, and she is like a social media coach for hairstylists. And we were talking about this a little bit. And she said that she actually did have a really horrible troll come out of their cave and say some really horrible things to her. Because we were just talking about like, do haters even, because we have this fear of haters, but do they even exist? You know, they do. And she had one who actually made a video, like really taking the mickey out of her. And it came down to the fact that what she was doing, her mission, her values, her mindset, everything that she was teaching about was not for that troll. That troll in their hole, she's not doing it for them. She's not doing it for them. They're not going to ever benefit. They're never going to buy from her. That's not her person. If your fear is haters, they do exist. Absolutely. There are always going to be people on the internet that are going to be crap people. But you have to think, is this for them? Is it even for them? Are they ever my person? You know?
Exactly. And I think, you know, it's also okay to have human feelings and slight waste of energy fearing things that haven't happened yet. And if it did happen, it's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel annoyed, you know, and angry maybe, and allow yourself to have that human moment. And then, like, you know, as you said, Viv said, connecting to, but it's not for them. It's for this. And this is why I'm doing it. And this is my mission. And this is the point. And that's going to be my focus. And yeah, you know, we can't control people in life.
We can't. And it's a reflection of their mindset. You should feel like, oof, you need some mindset work.
Exactly. There is something so magical when we actually lift each other up and when we celebrate each other and when we support each other. And if someone's doing something which doesn't interest you, then, you know, focus on things which do interest you. You know, I don't think it's ever a reason to tear someone down for what they're doing, and hurt people. And I know it can feel difficult, but almost like showing them compassion. You know, if this was me, like I'm in a place where I'm doing what I want to do in life. And if this person is spending their time sending hateful messages, then that shows me that they probably aren't in the, like, that is taking up their energy, which isn't a good place to be.
This podcast is brought to you by the Level Up Club, my monthly membership for makeup artists. Imagine a place created with done-for-you monthly resources and coaching, literally everything you need to create and scale a profitable, thriving makeup business. Well, it exists, and it's called the Level Up Club. I am so proud of this membership. I literally poured my heart and soul into it. Inside, you will find monthly Canva templates, monthly stock images, social media calendars, email templates, workflows, pro program lists, agency lists, monthly coaching and conversations with the people who can help smash gatekeeping. I'm talking agency owners, PRs, top makeup artists, and experts. They're all inside. And not only that, but monthly in-person events. We have already held portfolio days, headshot days, branding days, and so much more is coming. The club is taking the mystery out of making money. Your makeup business doesn't have to be make-believe, and I'm showing you how. And guess what? It's only £30 a month. In London, that's literally 2 hot chocolates. I'm not even kidding. So come and join us, the only membership I promise you'll ever need. Now, back to the pod. Now, you mentioned earlier on, and I've never really thought about this, but you're so right when you were talking about building up a mindset that empowers you and talks to you in like a positive, that builds you up kind of way. I'd love to explore that a little bit more because I've actually never really thought about that before, but you're so right. I think I have a really, really strong mindset. Like I can take any project that I do and go at it full force and not worry about fear or anything like that. To get to that point took a lot of years of doing the work, don't get me wrong. But when you were saying that, I was like, you're so right. I have this voice that is like a cheerleader. I have a tiny baby Kayleigh cheerleader in my brain somewhere. And that's what you were talking about building. How do you get the baby cheerleader?
I love that. And I can imagine it. I can see it. I'm visualizing it now. So in terms of that, I would say starting with your beliefs is kind of the first part of that. So overcoming any limiting beliefs and really connecting to what do I want? Like if I could almost program my mind in the way that I want it to be, in the way that is going to support me and empower me, almost like building it from scratch, what would I put into it? So this might be things like empowering beliefs. And I love to think about, okay, the version of me who has created this life, who has achieved these goals, what does she believe about herself, about the world, about life, about what's possible, and really kind of integrate those into my life. So when I'm saying integrate those into my life, I'm doing things like repeating them to myself. I might have pop-ups on my calendar with different things like coming up at, I said it. So it's like every single week I have Monday, 8 p.m. I've got one of my beliefs coming up. I will record them as kind of maybe like affirmation tracks, or I sometimes use subliminal tracks, or I might create a hypnotherapy around them, really to embed them. And repetition is incredibly powerful. So I'm just really, really trying to get it into my mind. Also the perspectives. So how we view things and view the world, I think can be really, really important. So perspective's another huge part of that for me. The questions that we ask ourselves as well really impacts us. So are you saying things like, why am I always making mistakes? Or are you asking yourself a question like, what can I do in order to overcome this? How can I overcome this? When you're saying to yourself, why do I always make mistakes? Your mind is much more likely to go, because you're an idiot, because you can't do this, right? When you say, how can I overcome this? Your mind is much more likely to respond in a supportive way that can help you. Okay, what about asking this person? What about Googling it? What about reading that book? Whatever it might be. So the questions that you ask yourself, the language you use as well is very important. So I catch myself if I'm saying, even before when you asked me a question, I was going to say, I don't have the best memory. And then I thought, no, I don't want to limit myself like that. So I'm really conscious of how am I saying things, and I think this really can come up with money a lot. Are you saying, that's really expensive, I can't afford that? The language that you use impacts what you believe, how you feel, and your reality in your life. So I'm really conscious of the words that I use and how I will describe things. So that's another part of it. In life now, I really consciously will create a meaning if something quote unquote like bad happens, right? So let's say, for example, you wanted to work with a client and you felt really excited about it. And it was this amazing project and you were like, oh my gosh, I feel so aligned and this feels great. great. And then all of a sudden they went cold on you. The meaning that you might make from that on an unconscious level is, I'm never going to be successful. This person doesn't want to work with me. So that means I'm not good at my job. I can't do this. Okay. And this can happen so quickly, and it will kind of link up to those limiting beliefs that we have, that you're in a spiral before you even realize you're in a spiral, and it kind of just overwhelms you. So in that situation, what I would be doing is I would be saying to myself, Elyssa, I know right now this doesn't feel great, and I know you want to create the meaning that this means you're never going to be successful, but it does not mean that. It does not mean that. What it means is that you have no idea what's happening for this client. Anything could have happened, and it doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean anything about how good you are and your future success. It doesn't mean anything. There are plenty of people who have clients, go cold on them, and it's not a reflection on them, and it's not a reflection on you. And I would literally be repeating that to myself over and over and over again until my mind gets it, until my mind understands it doesn't mean anything about me. And I've really practiced hard at consciously creating those meanings, so that now when quote unquote bad things happen, which, they do in any business in anyone's life, I can much more easily go, okay, it doesn't mean anything about me. I can move on. I can take something from it. So those are just a few kind of examples of things that I would do in order to create that empowering mindset.
Yes, to create the little mini cheerleader, right?
Exactly. And I always think about it like we've got to encourage ourselves, and we've got to support ourselves. And sometimes talking to yourself, I'm a big one for talking to myself, and talking to yourself out loud, imagining yourself as a little child and thinking, how would you encourage them? How would you support them? And sometimes we need to hear that too, Yeah, we might be 20, 30, 40, however old, but we sometimes need to have that voice of you've got this, you can do this, come on, have a little word with ourselves. So just really actively trying to build up that cheerleader, and really try and less focus and less energy on that inner critic, let's say.
I would say earlier on we were talking about the two biggest limiting beliefs that I feel like I see in the community. Number one being fear. Number two, and this I think is probably the biggest one, comparison, comparing yourself. And this is something I feel like naturally as an artist, you do even more. You always compare your work. I see artists in my community, they will look at somebody else's work, or look at a booking, or look at a client that they might have got and be like, my work is not as good as that. I will never book that client. They're much better than me. And it's this little comparison monster that lives inside of us. Is this a big one that you come across?
Definitely. I think we can all fall into that trap, and it just overcomes. I think we really have to actively work on, keeping that at bay, because it can just you completely fall down that trap, and you're in a huge spiral thinking, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Yeah, definitely.
It's a big one. I think it's honestly so much harder for women. I think we are much more, probably from society, probably from the patriarchy, we're naturally wired to just be comparers. One thing that really helped me with this is just recognizing that this was actually a bit of a me problem. Just because somebody else is killing it on social media doesn't mean that I can't kill it too. The main thing that really helped me get this under lock was taking control of that situation and muting accounts that made me feel very comparison-y, even if they were my friends, just muting them temporarily until I got a lock on this. For the community, because I know everybody is probably nodding at home right now, everybody deals with this. What is a tip or a tool or a thing you would recommend if they're really struggling with comparison at home?
I really agree with muting people. I think if people are just kind of coming up on your feed all the time, you don't necessarily have control over your feed. And you could go on at a time when you are feeling a bit more vulnerable, and all of a sudden you see someone's post and it's oh my gosh, I already didn't feel great today, and it might just be the fact that you're a bit tired. And then this comes on and it's oh my gosh, what am I doing? So muting those people. And if you want to actively engage with them still, then go onto their profile, their page, when you feel I'm in a good headspace to view it. And I'm viewing it from a way of, I'm feeling good and I'm just going on to engage because I want to engage with this individual. And then I'm going to go straight off and it's muted and it's not just going to kind of like pop up when maybe you're not in the right headspace to kind of like approach it. So I really do agree with the muting. Like you said, I think it is a me problem. How I see it is like, it's too much them and not enough you. You're giving all your energy and attention and focus over to someone else and what they're doing. And you're completely forgetting about what you're doing and, you know, what you're creating. So what I would really say is like, remind yourself that their success does not take away from your success. Imagine if there were no other makeup artists in the world. Would you be able to do every single person's makeup? No. There has to be other makeup artists because otherwise you're going to be like never sleeping and never going to be able to do anything because, you know, there's so many people who want their makeup done. Like, we need other makeup artists, just like we need other coaches. We need other doctors. We need other, you know, every other profession. People are going to come to you for you and what you bring, and no one else can replicate that. No one else can replicate you. No one else is you. So what I would really say in that moment is, how can you bring that focus back to yourself and back to, let me take some action. Let me work towards what I want to work towards. So enough of them. I'm going to stop giving my energy and attention and focus to them because that's a waste of it. I'm going to bring the energy, attention and focus back to myself and go, if this is what I want to create, how am I going to create it? What action can I take to get me closer to that? Knowing that their success does not take away from mine. And sometimes in those moments, what can very often happen is we compare ourselves to someone's like day, I don't know, 500 to our day like 10. And it's like comparing if someone started to walk up a mountain like 10 days before you and then they're at the top. Like, of course, you know, of course they're at the top. Like, you know, they started before you. So just recognizing where you're kind of already setting yourself up to feel rubbish in that moment. And ultimately, what I would say with all of these, like fear and comparison, is there is a part of your mind that wants to keep you safe and where you are. So it does things like comparison, you know, fear, self-doubt, because it kind of just wants you to just stay in your box and stay where you are and not expand. And recognizing that it is safe for you to do that. It's safe for you to grow and to achieve all the things that you want to achieve. So yeah, I would really say kind of coming back to yourself, focusing on you and just really repeating things in your mind. Like, I don't need to compare, I'm on my own path. I don't need to compare, I'm on my own path, until your mind is really, really getting it. And I so understand with comparison, you know, as I said before about social media and, you know, it was kind of new to me. Like, I really wasn't on social media. I naively thought that I was going to be the only young coach like in the world, basically. On my coaching program, I was like, oh my gosh, I think I've like stumbled across something amazing. I was like, I'm going to be like a coach, but like a young coach. And then I got on social media and I was like, oh my God, there's like a million young coaches. Like, what am I even doing? And I really had to work hard at thinking like, the right people are going to come and find me because I am right for them. Just like if I had to decide between loads of different restaurants, I'm not going to go to every single one. I'm going to choose the ones that are right for me. If I had to choose a therapist, I'm not going to go to every single one. I'm going to choose the one that connects with me. And that's exactly what happens. Same with dating. We don't want to date every single person. So just reminding yourself of those things, I think, can be really helpful.
Oh my God, yeah. This has been so valuable. This has been incredible. And I feel like normally I am way more like expressive, but I feel like I've been really just focusing and thinking about every word that you've been saying. So I'm sorry you've had to just look at me like gormlessly looking at you.
Not at all. Not at all. Honestly, I just feel like get me started on this stuff and I can just talk and talk and talk. But I think I'm just so passionate about it because I really, really do not want women, especially because that is my focus, anyone really, to be limiting themselves and to be holding themselves back, because I think how incredible is life when you just allow yourself to experience all the possibilities. And I really want more people to experience that. So at parties, at dinners, where at any time, anywhere, like I will just go on about this stuff. And yeah, I just love it. So thank you for giving me space to share this and talk about this. And I'm just so excited to be meeting your community members in person to actually take them through some of the process. I literally can't wait. Like I know you can't see me right now for anyone listening, but like I've got the biggest smile on my face. And I just, I know that I've probably spoken a lot today, but during the event, we'll really be going through processes to help you overcome some of these things, and to really encourage you to start taking some action and doing some things that scare you, and to like pushing yourself and really be creating that empowering mindset.
Yeah, let's talk about what we have planned, because I feel like we haven't talked about it. So we have planned a mini mindset half-day mini retreat with the amazing Elyssa to go into much more depth than we have gone into today for makeup artists, for people in beauty. And I know the big ones are going to be like comparison, limiting beliefs, blocks and fears. And we're doing them, aren't we?
Yeah. We're going to be doing them. I'm going to be getting everyone to actually go through the steps, because what I really find is like sometimes we can talk loads at these events, but I actually want you doing things in the event, during the event, to start to shift your mindset in that time rather than sending you home with loads of things to do. So I would definitely give suggestions, but I want everyone who joins to be doing things during the session. I'm going to be taking everyone through that limiting belief process to really overcome their limiting beliefs. And as you said, we're going to be looking at things like fear, self-doubt, comparison, imposter syndrome.
I cannot bloody wait. I cannot wait.
I know, I'm so excited.
I kind of feel like I selfishly planned this for myself as well. I was like, I think I'm the most excited out of anyone. I'm like, I'm going to be getting involved in this 100%.
And do you know what I was saying? I did an event yesterday and I was saying to someone, I love talking about it because I feel like, I know I just said I love talking about it anyway, but like, I feel like it goes into my mind even more. So I'm just kind of like, getting all that repetition in my mind to have those reminders is incredible. And I'm so excited.
I will say, just for everybody listening, because I know mindset, you either love it, you hate it, you either see the value or you don't. It's one of those things that can really divide people. But as somebody who, you don't know this, Elyssa, but I teach like a 12-week coaching program, and I'm on my 6th season of it. So I've done like 6 rounds. And in each round is about 10 students. Some students, they will achieve wins that are like, I booked 12 brides. I booked this campaign. I made 10K. They will have tangible wins. And they're amazing. They are fantastic wins. And then you have the students who will come and they'll be a little bit down and they'll say, well, the only win that I had was, I listened to this mindset podcast, or I did this. I got out of bed. And I will always say, in a season that I do, there's the good students, there's the great students, and then there's the game-changing students. The difference between the game-changing and the good is the game changers really freaking hone in on their mindset. And they're the ones that don't really have the tangible wins. They don't have the wins which they can like show me a spreadsheet with the money on it. They'll have the win that's like, I overcome this huge block. And that's not something you can really show someone because it's in your brain, right? That is the win that makes them game changing. That's the one where they go on and they do something insane. And I'm just like, like having my Kris Jenner moment. So I would really say to anybody who is listening, who's just wondering, like, what are the benefits of really going into your mindset? That's the benefit. The mindset wins are the ones that take you to the next stage of where you want to be. They're the ones that push you through. You called it the other day on your Instagram, the big red light. They push you through that. So I say, don't sleep on it. Do not sleep on mindset, right?
I so agree. I think it is at the foundation of your being and everything that you do. And what I will guarantee is this will not only help you with your business and your career, but it filters out into every area of your life. Like I have people who come to me and they want to start a business, and through working on their mindset, their relationships get better, their friendships get better, their well-being gets better, like everything. it's kind of just filters out and trickles out into every area of your life. You just can't stop it. Like, it really is this domino effect. And yeah, I think it is life-changing.
Absolutely life-changing. I would not be here without that tiny spark on the Manifestation Babe podcast that made me really start paying attention. And I wouldn't be here. I would not be sitting at this podcast. I wouldn't be as happy as I am without doing this work. And I will say it's freaking fun work. To learn about yourself as a woman is so freaking fun.
I know. I so agree. Like, I love it so much. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be here either. I wouldn't be on social media. I wouldn't have built my business. I wouldn't probably be doing this podcast, recording with you. I didn't have confidence really in myself or my idea. You know, when people in the beginning were asking me about coaching, I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I didn't feel confident. I was definitely comparing myself. I didn't have self-belief. I had a lot of self-doubt, a lot of limiting beliefs. And I really know that I am where I am because I worked through those things. And I didn't just kind of go, I'm just going to push them under the carpet and hope, you know, that they disappear at some point, because they don't. Like, they are there. And I know facing it can sometimes feel difficult, but by facing it and getting that awareness of it, then you can overcome it and you can change your life.
Yeah, come change your life and have a wholesome AF day with us in London on the 6th of Feb. Tickets are available. I'll put it in the show notes, and just come and hang out with us. It's going to be incredible. There's really limited slots, so we just hope to see you there to have a really fun day. Shall we play the game?
Yeah, I'm excited about this.
So it's a little quick fire game called Smashing the Gate. I play it every single episode with my guests, and it is a series of anti-gatekeeping questions. My mission on this podcast is generally to just smash down the gates of gatekeeping that hold women back from earning more, achieving more, being happier. So it's a quick fire round of anti-gatekeeping questions. Are you ready?
I'm excited. Yeah.
This is always my favorite part. I don't know why. I just love this game. Okay, let's go. What is your favorite podcast for an uplifting listen?
I love How to Fail. Is that it? Is it called How to Fail?
I think so. Yeah. That's a good one. Okay. And also your podcast, right?
Yeah, I do love my podcast. Yeah. My podcast is called What Am I Doing With My Life with Elyssa Desai. Says what it does on the tin, basically.
Love it. Go check that out. That is an uplifting listen. Okay. What is, in your opinion, like a quick mindset, work, strategy, task, thing that the listeners can do at home if they are just entering their mindset girly era?
Grab a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle. On the left-hand side, write all those negative limiting thoughts that you're having that just keep on replaying over in your mind. And then on the right-hand side, reframe them into a more positive statement that feels supportive, that feels like, I'm a big hugger. So it kind of feels like someone giving you a big hug, and start reading that list on the right every single day to yourself out loud.
Yes, I love that. I love that one. Oh, what was the most impactful thing you did for your mindset?
Started doing things that scared me.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Oh, there's so many here. One thing that you can do if you're having a hard time right now.
Seek support and talk to your friends. Talk to your loved ones. Know that you don't have to do it alone, whether it's reaching out to a coach or a mentor or a therapist. Just having someone to talk to can be really helpful. And if that feels too far out of reach now, grab a piece of paper and literally just get out all your thoughts onto that piece of paper, and try and bring it round to a positive if it feels like you're able to do it. So like, literally get out all the worries, the doubts, the fears, all the things that you're feeling at the moment, and try and see if you can naturally bring it round to a place of like, I've got this, I'm going to be okay. Even if it's just you writing over and over again, I'm okay. Just doing that can feel really cathartic, because sometimes when it's just going through round in your head, it can feel so heavy. So just allowing yourself the space to get that out.
And really important to talk to people. Don't feel alone ever. Talk to people. One reason that I actually am having this conversation with you right now is because I am a big, long follower of Sophie Milner, who is like an amazing, badass influencer that I followed for years because she's such a cool fashion girly. And me and Elyssa were talking at the beginning of the podcast, how we came to talking. Sophie posted on her story probably around 2021 that she was working with you. And I think as she's very, very open and very vulnerable on her Instagram, isn't she? And she would talk about the ups and the downs and the big downs that she was going through very, very openly. And I saw firsthand the impact that you had on her, because I've seen her grow a membership now. I've seen her grow like this incredible community of women. And she had like a fashion collaboration like a year ago. And I saw firsthand the benefits of working with somebody that you really gel with and you really like vibe with. And I love therapy. I love my therapist. I am such a big advocate for just finding your person and talking to them and letting them help you, because we can't do it all. We can't. We don't know everything. We shouldn't be a one-woman show.
Exactly. Yeah, I thank you for saying that. That's so lovely of you. And I completely agree. We don't need to go through life on our own. And chances are, if you're feeling it, so has someone else. And this isn't to diminish how you feel, but sometimes to just realize that you're not alone is very powerful. And yeah, just having that support from other people, it's really, really life-changing. And yeah, I'm a big advocate for therapy, and just knowing that there's so many people who want to support you. Like my purpose is to support people. Like there's people who are literally wanting to do it. So just allowing yourself to be open to it, which I know can feel quite scary and daunting for some people. So think about how you can just gently start to take some steps on that, even if it's just maybe speaking to someone who has a therapist and say, hey, like, how is that? Or, a coach, like what does that involve? And I won't speak for every other coach, but I'm always so open to people messaging me and saying, what is coaching, or what would the sessions be like, or how do you support people? Because I want to help people understand a bit more about coaching and what that looks like and how it could support them in their life.
Absolutely. Final question. Well, actually final two, but final question for the game. Is there anything exciting that you are working on other than our mini mindset retreat? Anything else that you're working on that you are just so excited about and want to tell us about?
So I guess I will mention my group coaching program, which I launched at the end of last year. It's called Unstuck and Energized in 6 weeks. And it's 6 weeks all around setting a goal, overcoming your blocks, taking action despite fear, really having that accountability piece. And I just loved it so much. I mean, I know you said that you do a group coaching program, so I'm sure that you're resonating with that feeling of just like there's something magical that happens when you bring a group of like-minded women together who all want to work towards goals and what they want to achieve. And I absolutely loved running it, and I'm definitely going to run it again a bit later in the year. So if anyone is interested in that and hearing about more about that, then definitely get in touch with me and they can join the waitlist.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. If you want a little taster sesh, come to our mini mindset day. We would love to have you.
Definitely. I'm so excited to see everyone there and meet you in person.
That's it. Oh my God, yes. Okay, final question. Where can everybody find you?
Instagram is the best place. So definitely connect with me. It's Elyssa Desai Coaching. Message me. Like, I'm so up for having chats. If you want to email me, then you can definitely email me. It's hello@elyssadesai.com. And then my website is Elyssa Desai, www.elyssadesai.com too.
Perfect. I'll leave it all below. Go and check her out, because her reels, her content and her stories are so beautiful and always make me feel strangely calm. Just like your voice. You've got one of them voices.
Thank you, Kayleigh. I really appreciate that. And just thank you so much for having me on. Honestly, it's been such a joy to chat to you. I can't believe how quickly the time's gone. It's been amazing. So thank you.
Big thank you. I'm so grateful. I have never been so present on a podcast episode before. I feel like I was just hanging off your every word. So thank you for sharing just your wisdom and your vulnerability with us.
Thank you, Kayleigh. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who's listened.
You have been listening to a podcast by Kayleigh. Thank you so much for tuning in today and being on this mission with me to self-improvement and taking steps towards financial empowerment. If you liked what you heard today, be sure to follow me on the gram at By Kayleigh Podcast, where I post pretty much daily. I would also love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and energy. So please do leave me a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you are listening today. In the meantime, I want you to go forward, believe in yourselves, and be the change you want to see. Bye, guys.